Geoguessr has recently spiked in popularity, this in turn resulting in Mr. TX01's Borderlands 2 Geoguessr being created. That's where this video comes in. This is a chance to learn or refresh your knowledge so that you can play along with your favourite creators when the time comes. I'll be teaching you key architecture, terrain cues, visual effects, related colour palettes, followed metas and more, as well as some of my own Geoguessr tests for you guys as we go along. That's enough rambling, let's get into it. So starting off with an easy one, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to guess where this is. So if I zoom out here, we're going to see this is the 5th Sanctuary DLC and the Backburner. And the key tips for the Backburner are grey metal plus wood, so the building is going to be both usually. It's going to be built from spare parts such as the Moxie sign, and it's got lots of vines. Now this was just a simple area, but now you know the format of the video, let's go on to the next. This is Wham Bam Island. Again, you do have the obvious giveaways, the tropical vibe, palm trees, umbrellas, flags, tiki masks, but some stuff to note is going to be the larger ground leaves that we just saw. There's going to be some hand graffiti around the map, and then there is going to be a super bright lighting to pretty much everything. And then as you saw in the background, we have thatched roofs to buildings, and in addition, just see-through water and wooden walkways. Now we have Hatred's Shadow. So I did just go over the gold, but it is also going to be located here, just a lot more spiky and rigid. Then on the outside it's going to have very flat vertical rocks. Then obviously it is going to be royal themed as it is a castle, so it's going to have elegant torches, metal gates, royal flags and shields located all around the map. So this next one is going to be a slag pit in the Doll Abandon. Now for the 5th Sanctuary DLC, it does have some standards, so that's going to be vines, spores and metal. Is going to be found throughout the DLC and a very common thing to look for. The Doll Abandon is going to be very sandy with lots of impaled objects sticking out the floor, so those are some key things to look out for. And like we just saw, it's going to have vines that go into slag. So if you see vines into slag, it's going to be Doll Abandon. Moving to the left, we have Oasis. So the main thing with this DLC are going to be palm trees, sand, which is going to be sometimes dry and cracked, as well as anchors. And there are going to be beach umbrellas, however, unlike Wham Bam, there is going to be stone behind them. Then the main feature for most of the map is going to be these holy rocks that kind of look like fossilized coral. Then the buildings in this area are going to be super curved and sharp, made out of metal. Then the pole meta is going to be grey metal poles with a lightning symbol midway. Lair of Infinite Agony. Now this one is very easy to get. Cracked walls, mossy walls, very dark stone, spider webs and vines located everywhere, as well as skeleton piles. And then in some parts of the map it's going to have a dark orange and a red glow. This is Marx's Mercenary Shop. The most obvious ones are going to be the Christmas trees, presents, snowmen and the snow, but if you don't have those available in the image, look out for gingerbread houses or wood houses with sloped metal roofs. Then as we just saw in the image, cranes, train tracks or a worshipped bullymong, and that's how you're going to be able to tell this DLC. So this next location is going to be the Burrows. Obviously the key standards, plus lots of open flowers. It's a shipwreckage, so there's going to be lots of damaged metal. It does actually contain quite a lot of water, so if you see those cues and water, it's probably the Burrows. And there's going to be blue eggs all around. Boom boom pow, this is Mines of Avarice. This is quite a unique area, so it's pretty easy to tell, but it's going to be dwarven mine items such as lanterns, minecarts, rails and cages. Super dark atmosphere. The main thing to look out for towards the end of the map is going to be the buildings with the gold trim, and at the start there's going to be a few of those orcish huts I mentioned, and there is a little bit of an outlier. There's going to be the pearlescent looking water at the start, so it could throw you off for another DLC, but just be aware you can find it in tiny pools at the start of the map. And then obviously the large lava lakes and waterfalls. Here we have Rockgut Distillery. So zooming out, you can see the lily pads in the swampy water, as well as those copper stilts with the warning label around it. That is pretty much always going to be a combo in Rockgut Distillery. But further in the map, you're going to see broken floors and walls that are going to be incredibly mossy, and then key items such as balloons and labeled wooden barrels. Turning around, we have the unassuming docks. We're going to have runic architecture. At the start of the map, bright flowers. Then what we're just looking at is going to be these pillar style rock formations found exclusively in this area. Then you can see in the background a boat. Then if it's really obvious, you can see a large rainbow. But there's also a really cool spatula or spatula graffiti found here. And if you see the houses, it's going to be bright but also have webs on them. Badass Crater of Badassitude. So this area is going to be the main bread and butter for this DLC. So it's going to have Torg branding, heavy metal buildings, pipes, beams, bollards, loads of posters and billboards, checkered flags everywhere, along with a rocky and sandy road. The Beatdown. So this has the usual Torg DLC stuff. Then the main thing which people are getting confused on the Geoguessr videos is the signage. You can tell it's from this part of the DLC because it's slightly neon and heavily lit up. And more specifically for the roads, they are going to be much more damaged here compared to everywhere else. And wherever you look to power those neon lights, you're going to see a bunch of wires, and just thrown about there's just going to be a bunch of fire pipes. I wonder if you got this one. This is Wormwater. Again, usual DLC stuff. However, this area is going to be mostly dry sand. Then on the holy rocks, not the religion kind, there's going to be white coral. Then one of the coolest bollard metas in Borderlands 2, which I never thought I'd say, is a white and dirty orange split bollard with a welded top. And as you can see in the background, there is a giant skeleton. This one is going to be the Writhing Deep. So we can tell this apart because of the image of Hadorax, and on top of the usual standards, if it also has a large open rocky space, then it's probably this area. This one is Helios Fallen. So this one's going to be a little bit easier to tell as it's got the usuals, plus lots of damaged metal, vines that are going to be layered on top of the metal, and a few key monuments to keep track of are going to be glass claptrap and the spaceship controls. Next up is the Winged Storm. So really quick, it just has lava grating, a big platform, and the dwarf face. Whoa, Dragon's Keep. So this is very similar to Hatred Shadow, but it's going to have super sharp edges all around, as well as much brighter. And the pad we just zoomed out from is the only place with it in the entire game. Andorak's Crag. Now this is going to have pretty much most of the Hammerlock DLC things, so swampy water, bones, bollards, masks, huts with bones, and teepees. The main giveaways for this area are going to be the large skeletons in the background, multiple birds' nests, and tiki mask loaders, and then a little bit of a bonus here that's going to have the really tall rocky cliffs. HSS Terminus. Super cool map here. It's going to be a damaged ship, so it's going to have a bunch of damaged components, along with small vents with fans and lights. Then in the main water area, it's going to have these hexagon tiles. Then further at the end, it's going to have these repair areas for constructors and loaders, where it has a massive arm, then the one we just saw, which was the needle arm. Zooming out here, this is going to be Mount Scarab Research Center, and the way you can tell is if it's a dark atmosphere with vines, it's probably this area. It also contains lots of these water pipes and glass panels. So I'm not going to lie to you guys, I have not even done Paradise Sanctum, so yeah, I can't do a zoom out just yet. But it's basically just a remake of Sanctuary with the vines, the spores, the blue seeds. So if you see Sanctuary, but it's just a little bit different to normal, then it'll be here. Zooming out from the pumpkin, this can be Hallowed Hollow. So we have the obvious things of Halloween items: lanterns, graves, pumpkins, candy, skeletons, themed lights, but it's also going to have themed doors such as the painting of the cat on. Going to be incredibly dark, but soft light from the lava and lanterns does keep it a little bit bright, and in the background you can see a orange moon. Next we have Gluttony Gulch. So it's going to have very bright orange and yellow leaves. Key items are fruit crates and fallen leaves, and overlaying pretty much everything on the outside of the map, it's going to have a warm sunset hue, and on the floor lots of kitchen tiles. Now we have Flame Rock Refuge. So there is quite a lot here. The things to look out for are going to be medieval style architecture, flags, clocks, window shutters, which we did just see in that picture. Then there are lots of signs in Borderlands, but the ones here are going to be relevant to the era, so you can tell from their clear materials, so the wooden horse, and usually not neon. Then we have the usual DLC features, the runic style, bare trees, wooden buildings and stilts, but there are going to be birds' nests around, and lots of unique paintings. Hunter's Grotto. Now this is going to have wetland style dirt, so very deep red and brownish, translucent murky water like a swamp, a lot darker than Rock Gut Distillery, and it is going to have a pumpkin, so maybe just check the inside of the house. It's going to have multiple handprints as well, and a bollard meta, which is the one we just saw, striped white and orange, and the houses are going to be very curved with a metal base and cloth roof. This time it is the forest. So this area is going to have an interesting grass design where it fades into dusty dirt, and the rocks are going to be super mossy, but what we just saw were the twisted trees with huts in them. Those are super common in this area, and you can see a pumpkin, but it's going to be a lot brighter than in the hollows. Then the main building is going to be the ogre huts made out of cloth, metal and bone. Then you could just about see in the background was the blood pool with the red glow. This was the Immortal Woods. So it has the usual, but to differentiate you're going to see these doors at the end of the map with the gold trim. It's going to be the entrance to the mines. There's going to be a lot of runic buildings, specifically this runic spawner, which we just saw, and there's going to be a crystal trail towards the end of the map, and the red script that we just saw. There is also one of those in the forest, but more commonly at the end of the map here. Pyro Peaks Bar. Now, I'd be very surprised if you managed to get it from that image, but if you did, congratulations. However, if you didn't, now you know that those metal walls with the hazard and that curves around, that is always going to be Pyro Pete's chamber where you fight him. But if you're not there and you're actually in the upper portion of the bar, look out for lightning on the speakers, the checkered flag, lots of hazard lights, and super worn wood and rugs, along with a bunch of rubbish thrown all over the floor. Now, just going through it quickly, all we want to look out for are the traffic light lights, racing themed gambling machines, bunch of pipes everywhere, and a bar theme, as well as some lightning on the speakers. Cool name, Skiller's Grove. And not only does it have a cool name, it also has a really cool way to tell where it is. Everything is pretty much grey. Like the warning symbol we just saw, it's just completely greyed out. And if it is somewhere on the map and you can't tell from the grey, it is going to have super swampy areas and bones like the rest of the Hammerlock DLC, and lots of houses that are in a treetop style that are hanging by ropes. Torg Arena. So the flooring is going to be a little bit different, with metal flooring and sandy but grassy flooring. Now it is going to have the Torg DLC stuff, but it is going to be super dense compared to everywhere else. So if you see these huge heaps of items, then it's more than likely Torg Arena. And what you just saw is an animated crowd, so keep your eyes open for that. Moving out the door, we have Arderton Station. Now this is another really cool location The main tell is going to be from those blue mushrooms with a blue hue, and the fact it is a complex factory, so it has large machinery, usually abandoned and overgrown. It has a unique den as well that you can see on screen, and again all the metal in the factory and around it is going to be very overgrown, with the floor being cracked as well. Hater's Folly. Fighting for the top spot of bollard metas is going to be Hater's Folly with this concrete body, wrapped rope, curved top bollard. And the rest of the area is going to be super diverse in fauna, with palm trees, coral, vines, lily pads, large leaves, mushroom and cactus located all around the map. Some extra items include large crystals, bones and green pools. However, the most noticeable thing is going to be the pearlescent water, which unlike the dwarven mines, there's going to be much more of it. But yeah, this is a pretty cool area. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Southern Raceway. Again, usual Torg stuff. But two main graffitis to look out for. That's going to be Mama's Gang and the Vault Cat. The only other small detail to look out for is going to be more tyres than usual. Here we have the Rush Yards. So again, the usual Captain Scarlet DLC stuff. You're going to see a bunch of neon signs, very densely packed buildings, and because there's parts that are a damaged ship, you're going to see a bunch of the metalwork, and then when you reach the top, there is a cabin full of shrines for Scarlet. Washburn Refinery. So this is very different. It's going to be a factory style, so lots of gates, stairs, chains and pipes. Then a bunch of things not usually found in Borderlands 2, the trucks and cars, along with some red and blue lights, plus some computers and tablets. And then there is actually a road in Hyperion's chamber, but it's different as it has yellow and white borders. The Forge. Now this is going to be a very recognizable place, full of heavy metal pipes and housing, along with a ton of lava and fire. However, the way to separate from other lava is because it's going to have a bunch of dark spots. Then located all around the map is going to be huge trash piles and car heaps, along with the machine gun like we just saw, and actually at the center there's going to be a blue glow. Zooming out, we have Magni's Lighthouse. It will contain the usual DLC stuff, sand, grass, holy rocks, wooden walkways. Then there are a bunch of cranes located around the map, next to dense housing mixed with metal and sandstone, with flags on top usually. Now there are going to be vines here, but they're very dark and next to holy rocks. Then the palm trees are actually going to be on full green grass instead of sand. The Leviathan's Lair. So the rocks here are going to have a blue glow, as it does feel very Iridian. Speaking of Iridian, we're going to have alien statues located around the map, fleshy walls as we were inside the Leviathan. Then keep your eyes out for a stone pyramid made out of stone slabs, blocks and blue Iridian rocks. Coming from the ceiling there's going to be natural lighting, and inside his stomach there's going to be acid like water. So that is it for the DLC's Geoguessr. If you liked, make sure to like and subscribe. See ya.